Hi, Deb.
Hi, Scott.
Glad you're here today with Chris and I. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Deb is a local person in Doylestown, originally from South Philadelphia, like I was. So we have something in common there for sure.
Yeah.
And it's just great to have you from a apparel point of view in the retail industry. So thank you for coming. We're going to be asking you a bunch of different things because of your deep history in that space. Mm-hmm. So Chris, I know you have some things that you want to ask, and then I'll ask some things of Deb.
Sure. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank
Glad to
you.
have you. Today's conversation, just talking with a local expert, getting a sense of how you see the economy and how things from your industry, what we can maybe glean from that for our clients, and just thinking about the world at large. So thanks for being in. I think it'd be best if we give everybody just a little bit of background of your history and why we have you here today. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
First of all, I'm originally from Doylestown. When my family moved out of South Philly, they came out this way. I went to New York in 1980, started a career visual merchandising from the ground up, like doing windows at 3 o'clock in the morning for Bloomingdale's department store. At that point, Bloomingdale's was considered the Harvard of retail because there were the CEO and all the general managers were doing things that they were bringing, like Cuisinart to America, Hinkle's knives to America. The first time anybody ever used black and white Belgian marble to build out a store was Bloomingdale's on 59th Street. So it was considered innovative and very forward and very much ahead of its time. From there, I went to work for the Estee Lauder companies for a number of years. I've always done visual merchandising. Through the years, I added creative marketing and store design and construction. So I've worked for some heavy hitters, the Estee Lauder Corporation, Gap Inc. Corporation, and rebranding, Banana Republic in the early 90s. And then on to Aveda, and I did international store design for them and visual. And lastly was Limited Brands, and I was there, and I was over all 16 brands at the time for visual merchandising. And 10 years ago, I retired in 2015. I came back to Doylestown and was talking to some guys who I knew, one who's a head of HR at Estee Lauder, who I knew previously, and another entrepreneur here. And I came in to give them, as a consultant, to give them my point of view on their local shop. And I've been there, next month will be 9 years.
Wow.
You didn't plan to be there.
So I've been big box, little box. Bloomingdale's had 15 stores when I was there, right? So it was still owned by Betsy Bloomingdale. So, I've had a variety from big box Bath and Body Works to now Main Street retailing.
Right.
So
now you're here local,
yes.
Doylestown, small shop.
Yeah.
And the world's changing, right? We have all this technology that's happening, but interestingly enough, you're seeing kind of a renaissance or maybe a nostalgia feeling coming back to the local shop and seeing success.
Yeah.
Here locally.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a lot technology-wise and what's going on, but I think the first thing is kind of those trends that you're seeing.
Yeah, but before we get into trends, what's the name of the store you're at now?
Anthony Robert Haberdashery.
It's a really nice store. I've been in there many times.
Thank you.
And I know that you do a beautiful job, especially with the window.
Yeah.
And then inside, I'm sure you have your creative touch for sure. So, and again, thank you for being here. So, Deb, one of the things that I'm curious about, and again, we'll get into some deeper things, is trends, like Chris was kind of just saying. One of the trends that I see that I'd love for you to comment on is this buy now, pay later. We used to call it maybe layaway.
Okay.
In the past. What do you think? Like, what's going on? What have you seen with that? Is that really taking shape, or is it dropping back to layaway?
Yeah, it's interesting because it dates way back, right? Like, who didn't have the Christmas Club savings booklet? What I'm saying? So saving up for things and so on. But I don't see a lot of that anymore. What I see is the big gap between super high-end, like Balenciaga, or, all the mall stores who are super high-end, the Louis, the Gucci, and so on. And then all the way down to the outlet stores, the Marshalls, the Home Goods, those types of things. So what's in between is mall retailing, and that has been suffering for the last 10 years.
Wow.
Major corporations have closed down, a number of stores, like a Bath and Body Works used to have 2,000 stores. They now have 1,000. So over 10 years, the ones that didn't have the appropriate EBITDA, which is pure profit, which I have to tell you in your business, but they've shut them down. So each company has a formula by which they grade their fleet of stores. And if you don't meet such a profit at this point, they shut you down.
Yeah, staying with what you're talking about,
Yeah.
I see that happening with Macy's.
Right.
Where they're scaling back and having smaller stores
Yes.
and less stores, right?
Right, and outlet stores, right? Like
Yeah.
the Ralph Laurens and the Burberrys and those types of things. And the backlash of that discounting really hurt their everyday regular price goods. They migrated their customer to a smaller ticket and taught them how to shop on sale. And so once you're a smart, savvy consumer, which everyone is, you learn online, right?
Right.
Like even in the car industry. Salesmanship as a car salesperson has changed because everybody pre-shops online. They come in, they know what model they want, they know what the ticket should be. And so consumers are more informed than ever because of the online experience.
Like, what's the opportunity then with, in your experience with the local store? Is that a benefit to you? Is it a negative?
Yeah.
Where does it fall, kind of net
For,
negative, net positive?
for us, it's a very terrific opportunity.
Okay.
Because our experience, we're one local store, men's only, and so the difference is when you're in Main Street, I know most of my customers by first name. My business card as the general manager has my cell phone number on it, and it's not a company cell phone, it is my personal cell phone. So my customers will call me and tell me what they need. I'll call them and tell them certain things have come in. So in Main Street, there is not a manager and a sales person and a person who does all the merchandising and so on. In Main Street, it's generally owner operated. And so you get an up close personal understanding of your consumers' needs, the price points that they're willing to spend. And one of the big things is we did an ad not that long ago, which basically said, just because you have the money doesn't mean you want to spend it that way. So, taking down your average ticket price is very important these days because customers know. They'll buy at Suit Supply as opposed to us, So that's where my personal interaction, my attention to detail, treating them like their family, that's what makes them continue to come back. The product is important. The relationship is more important to most people these days.
How has merchandising changed? Because that was a big part of what you did in the past.
Yeah.
Still doing merchandising at the store, but the look of the store, the feel, the size, all those things.
Right.
What's changing there?
Even with the big box stores.
Yeah, well, I think that, branding is more important to sort of in-store to shout your point of difference, whether it's what you sell, how you sell it, the branded experience, right? Like everything you touch and feel. Your mug, for example, has your logo on it, right? So at every touch point with a consumer, you want them to put your brand and what you sell first and foremost. So there's always a backlash to moving forward with technology. So the further you go with e-commerce, the more room there is for Main Street retailing.
Balance.
Yeah, you can do both at the same time. Now, we choose not to do both because our customer experience is first and foremost to us. So if you're online and a warehouse is shipping you something, I wrap it. I put a handwritten personal note. It's almost kind of like the big box stores like the Neiman Marcus and the Nordstroms. They always had a personal touch.
Yes.
They never stopped. They always sold what was the newest trend, the best made, therefore most expensive. And so some brands have never changed their DNA since they started. And, those are just two for an example. But even very high-end brands are approachable. So if you can't buy a Gucci suit, you're buying a keychain. If you can't buy Louis luggage, you're buying a handbag, right? And so that's the kind of thing that where you get everyone can buy in, and your top 2% make everything aspirational to everyone else. So in retail, fewer, bigger, better is, I'm going to focus on you because you came in and told me you needed an outfit for a specific occasion, let's say for a wedding. I'm going to spend more time with you because I know you have more of a share of wallet and you have an immediate need. So one person going into, let's just say, a Balenciaga store is leaving spending $10,000. So for them, it's not volume, it's not traffic, it's customer individually based. There are some stores down in Miami where they have a security guard and they will look you up and down and let you in or not let you in, which is interesting, right? So they're being very exclusive and choosy. And so given their price points, they don't have to have a lot of volume. Plus, they also do a lot online and they're big on clienteling. So if I get all the new Louis in, I'm going to call X, Y, and Z customer because I know she's coming in for that handbag that nobody else has, or limited edition, or so on.
So those brands are still doing the relationship side better than maybe some of the lower end?
They absolutely are. Yeah. The lower end, listen, 95% of mall-based stores have all part-time help. You may never see the same person 3 times in a row.
Right.
So with that, it's not consistent. Right? And different associates and different managers interpret the branding. Right? And that's one step removed. In Main Street retailing, I am the brand. Right? I'm the general manager, but most people in our town think that I own the store. Right? Just because of how I show up every day. It's the experience I give you. And that's what's really important to my customers,
Another question, we kind of touched upon it with store sizes and this and that, but I do want to kind of go back to it a little bit with physical space,
right?
But also with something really called experience hubs now. I don't know what store I saw. It was a big brand where they have stores all over the world. They're small, and they really don't sell anything there. You kind of look at a video or you touch and feel something, but then you have to jump on the computer to order it.
Yeah.
What's your feel? What's your take on that?
So
is that old news?
The first mall-based retailer that did that was Restoration Hardware. You used to be able to go to Restoration Hardware in the 90s and say, I love that chair, I love that sofa, here's my Amex, when can it be delivered? Nothing in a Restoration Hardware store is actually for sale. Small little pickup items, if you buy like a throw blanket or a pillow or something, yes. Everything else is warehouse. So the store became a showroom. Now, think about the logistics and what they're saving, right? They're not bringing everything from a warehouse to a store. They're now taking smaller footprints because they don't need a big storage stock room in the back. Right. When you think about home goods and you think about what the stock would be and how large of a space. So a lot of it, and it's coming from the pure economics. Like when I was still working in corporate retail, the CFO and some number of us would look at the dollars per square foot before we even signed a deal. And so when I left corporate retail, smaller spaces were better for us.
I see. So they store it in the warehouses, and with that just-in-time inventory.
It's an Amazon model, right? There's a warehouse. It's remote.
Right.
The storage is super cheap, and we truck it right to your house. Our employees don't unpack it. They don't clean it. They don't ticket it. right? So
Interesting.
there's a lot of levels where you're cutting out overhead by doing that. Now, at the same time that they did that, they dropped a catalog that was the size of a phone book.
Yeah.
Restoration Hardware, right? They got a lot of flack for that, but I'm just saying, when you make a big jump like that to a different way of retailing, you've got to use all other levers to keep your customers engaged.
Agree.
Yeah. So.
It's kind of blend then of e-commerce, right? Everything was going digital, but I think people do want to be able to touch and feel the apparel side, maybe try something on.
Yeah.
Get a sense of, how does it fit? How does it look on me?
Yeah.
I know some retailers have been trying to maybe think about that in can you virtualize that experience, right, through the AR and VR side of that, where you can kind of see yourself in an outfit before, it's digital. Any thoughts on that?
A lot of the eyeglass companies, right, with the virtual try-on, like that's amazing. Right? Because it's right there. You can see how it looks and feels. So, again, when you are taking out the interpersonal experience, you've then got to deliver in different ways. For example, but again, customization, everyone thinks that everyone wants more choices and more custom. And when it really gets down to it and you do the marketing analytics, they really don't. They want to see an outfit head to toe, and they want to buy it head to toe, right? Or they want to see something aspirational. So I'll have guys that come in and say, gee, I'm looking for a khaki suit, but I've seen a Canelli, right, or one of those, and but I have the version of it. And so you can still, you can't necessarily do that with the online experience. Right. I also have brands that I call legacy brands. So if you're looking at anything in the shop, I'm going to tell you where it's made, that the company started in 1913, that they make all U.S. military uniforms, so you can read that online, but somebody telling you with the passion and saying, hey, this is why we buy this brand, people get blown away by that kind of thing. So it's verbal, in-person marketing. Now, I can do that very well. No one had to train me to do that. So I'm a little bit of an anomaly in that way. But your education, you can educate people at the Gap and say, hey, 1969, that was our gene. That made us, popular. That's part of our brand. So now everyone that works there should know when that started and what it was about and so on.
Yeah, I mean, I think just at a high level, we all, like you said, customers are way more informed than they've ever been. Have access. I mean, even if you're seeing someone wearing something, you can take a picture of it now, and it'll give you kind of what that is.
Right.
New technologies that, but it's very shallow kind of knowledge versus deep. So I think there's still that craving for experts that know kind of more about. And being able to connect the dots.
Yeah.
I mean, we see that a lot in our industry too.
We do.
People know way more about investing than they have in the past.
Right.
But still, working with experts that can go deeper into those areas and not be so shallow or broad based in their exposure. So I think it provides a great service to people in the area that so much and can really help them figure out. I think you said this before, like, people don't really know what they want to buy, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
They want to be influenced. They want to be inspired.
And they want to be sold.
A lot of my guys come in and say, listen, I'm going to a wedding. I'm wearing a blue suit, and I need all the other things that put it together, the shoes, the socks, the shirt, the tie. And half of the time, if they're existing customers, they don't even want to weigh in. I will show them 3 options, and they'll say, which one do you like? Because you're basically my stylist, right? Like, there's a number of guys in town who will refer to me as their personal stylist. Now, basically, I'm the retail person, but, it makes people feel good. It makes you feel heard. Right. So there's a guy in town who's a sheriff, and he goes around telling everybody, Deb's my personal stylist, because at night he has a band, right? So that's the other thing. People are shopping in all of the different opportunities, right? Like me personally, I'll buy basics on Amazon. I'll walk to a local grocer because I want organic vegetables and fruit. And, I'll order things online. So I think most people, if you were to sit down and ask them, I bet there's 3 different ways in which they shop, right?
Right. Yeah, no one's taking all the share.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're spreading it out. So your point of difference is really critical, right? Like, what is Amazon going to give you that I can't give you, right? Now, they have breadth of assortment, right? So editing is really important.
So let me ask something, because we want to wrap this up soon. If we tie it into our space a little bit and just general investors, they get concerned about the retail space. It's kind of it shows a little bit where the economy is.
Yes.
We have inflation now, especially food inflation. Are you seeing any, not specific to your store, and by the way, I like the old school name of Haberdashery, which is a name that kind of has faded away.
Well, I took both of the owners' first names, so Anthony Robert isn't a person. Oh. Anthony is one owner and Robert is the other.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good.
So, and Haberdashery 10 years ago, that was kind of like,
ties.
You need a cool mustache, to remember that sort of trend.
Yeah,
right?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. So are you noticing any slowdown in the retail space? Again, not specific to your store, but it gives you an indicator. We're not looking to discuss the business.
Right.
But what are you saying?
Yeah, so we're an anomaly, and, we have a monthly merchant meeting here in Doylestown.
Okay,
where we get together and we have breakfast and everybody talks about what's going on. Mm-hmm. We talk about sharing mailing lists and so on. And so I circulate and I talk to a lot of the shop owners and managers. This year, retail was very challenging. Most people either hit last year's number or were about 10% behind for this holiday. The weather had something to do with it, because when it's really cold, people don't come to a town that they walk around in, right? They're coming for brunch and they're sort of running back and forth to the car, right. And so a lot of people will have sales in January. So in general, the retail market was softer than it was the last couple of years. Not necessarily to talk politics, but let's talk government just in general. In the year of an election, no one spends money. It's just been that way. Every 4 years, people tighten the belt because they don't know what's going to happen. So we found that historic in retail. The year of a presidential election is very soft retail.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Restaurants also, same.
Yeah, how about that?
I just want to say, we appreciate you coming in and sharing your experience, and glad to see that you're having success here in the borough.
Yeah.
I think it's super interesting what's going on in the retail space. Whether it be the biggest companies out there and how they're solving those problems, and then the kind of the balance, the counter side to that of that local experience and those local experts to help you make decisions. And kind of piece it all together. So I want to thank you for being here and giving us some information. If there's anything else you want to share, we'd love to hear any other pieces you have.
Well, what I would say is, it's really important to support local businesses, and as we see larger businesses, walking away from some existing practices that they had, there's a lot more reason to stay local. Know the people that you're giving your hard-earned money to. And I think that's relevant to your business. You can go with a Schwab or some of those other big companies, but are they going to walk in here, look at you, shake your hand, talk to your son-in-law, talk to your daughter? This is a family business.
Correct.
Right? So from even the person that's set up front is like the family for you, right?
It is.
The face of your company. So I would say that know who you're doing business with and know them on a personal level, because it's available. You don't need to go to big places where you're just a number.
Agree.
Right? So you wouldn't be a number here and you wouldn't be a number in my shop. And that's really important. Looking at someone, getting that trust level, shaking their hand, very important.
I agree, 100%.
Asking how their wife is, asking how the kids are, very important.
Agree. Thank you, Deb.
You're welcome.
It's been great. Thanks for coming here.
Thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back with another one.